Good morning, everybody. It's Mr. Poulton here. Today's lesson for week 8 on The Merchant of Venice is going to be based heavily around Shylock and Shakespeare's language and the way that he presents him. I'm taking over from Miss Wilmore in doing the work for The Merchant of Venice, and our learning intentions for the day are to learn more about Shylock as a character, what kind of person he is, to try and understand some of the methods that Shakespeare used to present Shylock. So did he use similes, metaphors? Was there any heavy use of adjectives or anything like that? What was Shakespeare doing to present Shylock? And then finally to really start to form our own opinions as to whether Shylock is a victim or a villain. Right? So which side of the coin do you think he's going to be on? The victim or the villain? Throughout the lesson today, you'll be given certain tasks to do. It'll be nice and simple when I give you a task. All you do is you press pause on the YouTube video and you do the work. Once you're finished, you unpause it, and it just means that you can work in your own time. You don't all have to work at a certain speed, so you can all do it at your own individual pace. But to begin with, I want you to think of 5 adjectives that you could use to describe Shylock. Right? If you're not sure what an adjective is, then you could either look it up or you could listen very carefully. Remember, the noun here is Shylock as the person. The adjective describes Shylock. Right? So I want you to think of 5 individual adjectives to describe Shylock. Now, they don't all have to show him as a good man or as a bad man. You could have a mixture, because in reality, all bad people have some good parts to them and all good people have some bad parts to them. So 5 adjectives to describe Shylock. Write each adjective down, just as kind of a bullet point or as a mind map or however you want to do it. Once you've done that, I want you to write 5 sentences about Shylock where the adjective is making clear what you think about him. Right? So I'll give you an example. If I was to say, write down 5 adjectives about Mr. Poulton, your first one might be boring. Then your sentence that would go with that is, Mr. Poulton is very boring. Right? So it would be good if you could come up with different kind of sentences as well for Shylock, and maybe even, if you really want to push yourself, to try and think about why Shylock is that way. Right? But 5 sentences about Shylock where the adjective is making clear what you think about him. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the script for Act 3, Scene 1. Right, you're going to see it on the video in a couple of minutes. I've got the actors acting it out, and the script will scroll down so that you can read what they're saying as they're saying it. It's always helpful if you do that. Don't just rely on listening to it, because you'll not take it in. Right? You really need to be reading. It's actually more important to read it than listen to it. Right? But read along with the actors and you get that extra benefit of hearing how they're saying it and what their emotions are as they're saying it. You will go through this a couple of times today for different reasons. Right now, it's just to get a feel and just to introduce you to the scene.
Now, what news on the Rialto?
Why, yet it lives there unchecked that Antonio hath a ship of rich lading, wracked on the narrow seas. The Goodwins, I think they call the place. A very dangerous flat, and fatal, where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried, as they say, if my gossip report be an honest woman of her word.
Oh, would she were as lying a gossip in that as ever napped ginger or made her neighbours believe she wept for the death of a third husband. But it is true, without any slips of prolixity or crossing the plain highway of talk, that the good Antonio, the honest Antonio, or that I had a title good enough to keep his name company.
Calm, the full stop.
What sayest thou? Why, the end is he hath lost a ship.
But it might prove the end of his losses.
Well, let me say amen betimes, lest the devil cross my prayer, for here he comes in the likeness of a Jew. How now, Shylock? What news among the merchants?
You knew? None so well as you of my daughter's flight.
That's certain. I, for my part, knew the tailor that made the wings she flew withal.
And Shylock, for his own part, knew the bird was fledge. And then it is the complexion of them all to leave the dam.
She is damned for it.
That's certain, if the devil may be her judge.
My own flesh and blood to rebel.
Out upon it, old carrion rebels in it these years.
I say my daughter is my flesh and my blood.
There is more difference between thy flesh and hers than between jet and ivory. More between your bloods than there is between red wine and Rhenish. But tell us, do you hear whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no?
There I have another bad match. A bankrupt, a prodigal who dares scarce show his head on the Rialto. A beggar that was used to come so smug upon the mart. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to call me usurer. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to lend money for a Christian kersey. Let him look to his bond.
Why, I'm sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for?
To bait fish withal. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated mine enemies, and what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction.
Gentlemen, my master Antonio is at his house and desires to speak with you both.
We've been up and down to seek him.
Here comes another of the tribe. A third cannot be matched unless the devil himself turn Jew.
Oh, how now, Tubal, what news from Genoa? Hast thou found my daughter?
I often came where I did hear of her, but cannot find her.
Why, there. A diamond gone. Cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2,000 ducats in that, and other precious jewels. I would my daughter were dead at my foot, and the jewels in her ear. Would she were hearsed at my foot, and the ducats in her coffin. No news of them. Why so? And I know not what's spent in the search. Why, thou loss upon loss, the thief gone, with so much to find the thief, and no satisfaction, no revenge, no ill luck stirring, but what lights on my shoulders, no sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding.
Yes, other men have ill luck too. Antonio, as I heard in Genoa.
What ill luck?
At an argosy cast away coming from Tripolis.
I thank God. Is it true?
I spoke with some of the sailors that escaped the rack.
Thank thee. Good Tubal, good news. Heard in Genoa?
Your daughter spent in Genoa, as I heard one night, 80 ducats.
Oh, thou sticks the dagger in me. I shall never see my gold again. 80 ducats at a sitting. 80 ducats.
There came divers of Antonio's creditors in my company to Venice that swear he cannot choose but break.
I am very glad of it. I'll plague him. I'll torture him. I am glad of it.
One of them showed me a ring that he had of your daughter for a monkey.
Altapora, thou torturest me, Tubal. It was my turquoise. I had it of Leah when I was a bachelor. I would not have given it for a wilderness of monkeys.
But Antonio is certainly undone.
Nay, that's true. That's very true. Go, Tubal, feed me an officer. Bespeak him a fortnight before. I will have the heart of him if he forfeit. For were he out of Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. Go, Tubal, and meet me at our synagogue. Go, Tubal. At our synagogue, Tubal.
Okay, so we're going to listen to it again. And I know you might be thinking, well, we've just gone through that. Why do it again? Right? This time it's for a specific purpose. This time it's to help you to get that balance of whether you think he's a victim or a villain. So the victim is the person who's been badly treated. The villain is the person who treats others badly. Right? Now, the way that I want you to do this, you'll need a notepad or your workbook or whatever. Right? And I want you to just draw a line down the middle. It doesn't need to go all the way to the bottom. Right? You just need a little bit of a line. You can turn it into a proper chart if you want, however you want to do it. But on one side, I want it to say victim. On the other side, I want it to say villain. And just every time you feel that he's being victimized and that he's being the person that's badly treated, I want you to put a tally chart, a tally mark in. And every time that you feel that he's being horrible and villainous and bad, I want you to put a tally mark on this side of the chart. And by the end, you can probably look at it and think, oh, well, in this scene, I think he's more of a villain than a victim, or more of a victim than a villain. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's all your opinion, how you feel about him. And just because I've put 5 for victim and 3 for villain, that was just random. It could have been the other way. It's just to show you what we're looking at. Okay, so listen and watch carefully again. And as you're going through, make a little chart to say what you think he is in this scene.
Now, what news on the Rialto?
Why, yet it lives there unchecked that Antonio hath a ship of rich lading, wracked on the narrow seas. The good winds, I think they call the place, a very dangerous flat, and fatal, where the carcasses of many a tall ship lie buried, as they say, if my gossip report be an honest woman of her word.
Oh, would she were as lying a gossip in that as ever napped ginger or made her neighbours believe she wept for the death of a third husband. But it is true, without any slips of prolixity or crossing the plain highway of talk, that the good Antonio, the honest Antonio, oh, that I had a title good enough to keep his name company.
Come, the full stop.
What sayest thou? Why, the end is he hath lost a ship.
But it might prove the end of his losses.
Well, let me say amen betimes, lest the devil cross my prayer, for here he comes in the likeness of a Jew. How now, Shylock? What news among the merchants?
You knew none so well as you of my daughter's flight.
That's certain. I, for my part, knew the tailor that made the wings she flew withal.
And Shylock, for his own part, knew the bird was fledge. And then it is the complexion of them all to leave the dam.
She is damned for it.
That's certain, if the devil may be her judge.
My own flesh and blood to rebel.
Out upon it, old carrion rebels it at these years.
I say my daughter is my flesh and my blood.
There is more difference between thy flesh and hers than between jet and ivory. More between your bloods than there is between red wine and Rhenish. But tell us, do you hear whether Antonio have had any loss at sea or no?
There I have another bad match. A bankrupt, a prodigal who dares scarce show his head on the Rialto. A beggar that was used to come so smug upon the mart. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to call me usurer. Let him look to his bond. He was wont to lend money for a Christian kersey. Let him look to his bond.
Why, I'm sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for?
To bait fish withal. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated mine enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction.
Gentlemen, my master Antonio is at his house and desires to speak with you both.
We've been up and down to seek him.
Here comes another of the tribe. A third cannot be matched unless the devil himself turn Jew.
Oh, how now, Tubal, what news from Genoa? Hast thou found my daughter?
I often came where I did hear of her, but cannot find her.
Why, there. A diamond gone. Cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2,000 ducats in that, and other precious jewels. I would my daughter were dead at my foot, and the jewels in her ear. Would she were hearsed at my foot, and the ducats in her coffin. No news of them. Why so? And I know not what's spent in the search. Why, thou loss upon loss, the thief gone, with so much to find the thief, and no satisfaction, no revenge, no ill luck stirring, but what lights on my shoulders, no sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding.
Yes, other men have ill luck too. Antonio, as I heard in Genoa.
What ill luck?
At an argosy cast away coming from Tripolis.
I thank God. Is it true?
I spoke with some of the sailors that escaped the rack.
Thank thee. Good Tubal, good news. Heard in Genoa?
Your daughter spent in Genoa, as I heard one night, 80 ducats.
Oh, thou sticks the dagger in me. I shall never see my gold again. 80 ducats at a sitting. 80 ducats.
There came divers of Antonio's creditors in my company to Venice that swear he cannot choose but break.
I am very glad of it. I'll plague him. I'll torture him. I am glad of it.
One of them showed me a ring that he had of your daughter for a monkey.
Altamona, thou torturest me, Tubal. It was my turquoise. I had it of Leah when I was a bachelor. I would not have given it for a wilderness of monkeys.
But Antonio is certainly undone.
Nay, that's true. That's very true. Go, Tubal, fee me an officer. Bespeak him a fortnight before. I will have the heart of him if he forfeit. For were he out of Venice, I can make what merchandise I will. Go, Tubal, and meet me at our synagogue. Go, Tubal. At our synagogue, Tubal.
Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at one of the two key speeches from Shylock within this scene. Right, this part here. Right, at this point in the play, or this point in the scene, Shylock's just been asked, well, you know, if you are allowed to take his pound of flesh, what will you do with it? It's not even good for anything. And that's where Shylock says to bait fish withal, or in other words, if I can't use it for anything, I'll stick it on the end of my pole and I'll go fishing with it, and that's what I'll use it for. And he says, if it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. Just going to highlight that. I apologise for the bad highlighting. Right, so if we're looking at whether Shylock's a victim or a villain, we need to consider this word revenge. Who uses words like revenge? Good people or bad people? victims or villains. Right? So that's an early indicator, or could be an early indicator, depending on what you feel about that, as to whether Shylock is a victim or a villain. Right? But let's look at why he wants revenge. Because he feels he's been badly done by. Let's look at some of the things that Antonio has done to him. Right? Now, I'm going to highlight some of these words. I'm going to highlight verbs. Right? Because verbs are actions, and it shows the actions that Antonio has done to Shylock. So it says, he hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, and heated mine enemies. So those are all the things that Antonio has done to Shylock. So let's go back through them. He's disgraced him. He's made him look bad to everyone. Right? He's hindered him 500,000. In other words, he stopped him from making 500,000 ducats. Right? That might be an over-exaggeration. I don't know. Right? But he's basically saying he's cost him a heck of a lot of money. Right? When Shylock has lost money from a bad deal, he's laughed at him. When he's made money or gained money, he's taken the mickey out of him. Right? So Shylock can't win here. When he loses money, he gets laughed at. When he makes money, he gets laughed at. Right? Scorned. If you're not sure what the word scorned means, press pause, look it up. Right? So scorned, my nation, he's basically making fun, right? Constantly mocking his nation, right? In a really bad way, right? Basically, racism towards the Jews, right? Thwarted my bargains. In other words, he stopped him from getting into some good deals. This is a good one. Cooled my friends, heated mine enemies, right? So when Shylock's had a friend or being friendly with people, Antonio comes along and tries to separate them, right? And stop that friendship from developing. And when it says heated mine enemies, if someone doesn't like Shylock and is really angry with him, Antonio will come and stir the pot and make it worse, right? So that's some of the things that Antonio has done to Shylock. And why has he done it, right? Let's look at what Shylock himself says and what's his reason. Now, in other words, why is he doing this to me? I am a Jew. Purely and simply because he's a Jew. Right? We can tell that Antonio's racist by some of the things that he says earlier in the play. Right? And Shylock knows that he's being treated like this by Antonio simply because he's a Jew. Now, I can understand how Shylock's feeling there. That all of these things have just happened to him because of a religious belief that he has, not for any other reason. And this is where Shylock really starts to use some emotive language. Right? Emotive language is language that motivates emotion. You might want to pause it. I'll repeat that for you. You might want to write it down. Emotive language is language that motivates emotion. Right? It gets something stirred up within you so you feel passionate about something. Right? Now let's look at his speech here. You'll notice he starts at this point to use lots of rhetorical questions. Right? Rhetorical questions are a really, really good emotive technique because they're not there. He's not expecting someone to say, hath not a Jew eyes? Well, yeah, of course you've got eyes. Right? He's not expecting that. He's not wanting an answer. A rhetorical question doesn't require an answer. A rhetorical question is simply put out there to make the audience think. Now, in this case, there are two audiences that Shylock is speaking to. There's the audience on stage because he's part of the act and they're pretending that this is real. But then there's the audience, as in the actual audience, right? So he's trying to make the characters on stage think, but also it serves as a purpose of making the audience think about how they treat people. Now, as a modern audience, we see things in a different way. So hopefully this will have an impact on you as to how you see other people, just because they're a different religion or a different race, right? They've come from a different country. Should we treat them differently? Definitely not. So Shylock says, hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer, as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? Now, that is really emotive to me. I can feel that Shylock has been badly treated throughout his life, just from the way that he's speaking here. Right? Does a Jew have eyes, hands, organs, dimensions, feelings, emotions, passions? Yes. Is a Jew fed with the same kind of food? They might eat different foods, but food in general, if I eat bread and he eats bread, is it going to feed us both? Yes. If someone hits me in the head with an axe, am I going to die? If someone hits him in the head with an axe, is he going to die? Yes. Right? Would they both catch coronavirus, provided they're socially distancing from each other? They shouldn't. Right? Would they be healed by the same medicines? Yes. Would they be warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer? So if Shylock and Antonio are both standing outside and it's 30 degrees, are they both going to start getting warm and start to sweat? Yes. If they're both standing outside in the middle of winter and it's 5 degrees under, are they going to start getting cold? Yes. Why? Because they're both humans, right? And this is something that's really important in the minute around the world, right? After the murder of George Floyd, it's hopefully starting to make people think about how we treat each other. So right now, this could be, specifically from a Jew's point of view. It could be specifically from a Christian's point of view. It could be from a Muslim's point of view. It could be from a French person's point of view. It could be from a black person's point of view. It could be from a specific part of Africa's point of view. It could be from a Chinese perspective. Right? We are people. It doesn't matter what colour skin we have. It doesn't matter what religion we have. We should all be treated equally. And Shylock's speech here is perfect for this example. We are people. Just because we don't believe in the same thing, right? We don't all have to believe the same things. Life would be boring if we all believed the same things. But do we have to treat each other equally? Do we have to treat each other with respect and kindness? Yes, we should. Right? But let's come back to the lesson. Right? All of these things, if I take a needle and stab all of you that are listening with that needle, a different needle it would you all bleed? Yes, you would. Right? Now, different people respond in different ways. Some people, if they get tickled, they want to run away. Some people enjoy it and they laugh. Some people want to hit the person that's tickling them, right? But the point that he's trying to make is we react, we're human, we've got feelings, we've got emotions, we've got senses. And these things happen to us, right? So the real part, the where I stopped, right, is here. If you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. So in other words, I've seen Jews be beaten up because they've done something to a Christian and the Christian's taken revenge. So why should I, as Shylock, why should I not take revenge on a Christian and beat him up if I see him doing something wrong to a Jew? That's his point that he's trying to make. That he's been so badly treated that he just feels that all of these things need to come back to that horrible word of revenge. And let's look how many times it's in the screen. 3 times. So what kind of person uses the word revenge? A victim or a villain? Right? Is he a victim or a villain? He's constantly using this revenge word, showing that he wants to hurt Antonio. And what he says is, the villainy you teach me, I've missed the N out there, sorry. The villainy you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Right? So he's seen the Christians be villainous towards the Jews for such a long time that he's learned from it. Right? He's not just going to copy off it, he's going to go hard and be better. So he's not just going to settle for the kind of revenge that he's seen, he's going to be even worse. Right? Now, so from that we've looked at some of the methods that Shakespeare has used. We've looked at some key words, right? We've got repetition of revenge and the connotation of revenge. And I would imagine you're starting to think, is he a victim or a villain if he keeps using that word? Maybe you're thinking, but I feel sorry for him because of that really passionate and emotive speech. Yes. But you need to start balancing up which side of the coin you think it's going to fall on. Okay, then we're now going to look at another part of the speech from Act 3, Scene 1. And this is when Shylock is talking to his friend Tubal about trying to hunt down his daughter. Right, now, I want you to remember exactly what it is that his daughter's done. His daughter's ran off with a Christian. That is who Shylock sees as his great enemy. But also, she didn't just run off with him. She stole all of Shylock's money and precious jewels. Right? She even stole the engagement ring that he gave to his wife. Right? So she's really betrayed Shylock. So I want you to think of a time when you felt betrayed by someone, a friend or a family member. Right? Did you think or say things that you wish you didn't? That's probably what Shylock's saying here. So he says some very serious things. Does he mean them? We don't know fully. Right? So think of a time when you might have had an argument with your parents or something like that and said that you hate them. Did you really mean it? Right? Perhaps Shylock's saying some things here that he doesn't really mean because it's only been in the last couple of weeks that this thing's happened, and he's really, really raw with the emotions. So let's read it again. Why, there. A diamond gone cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. 2,000 ducats in that and other precious jewels. I would my daughter were dead at my foot and the jewels in her ear. Would she were hearsed at my foot and the ducats in her coffin. No news of them? Why so? And I know not what's spent in the search. Why, thou loss upon loss. The thief gone with so much, and so much to find the thief, and no satisfaction, no revenge, nor no ill luck. stirring but what lights on my shoulders. No sighs but of my breathing, no tears but of my shedding. Right. Now, we're going to read through different parts of this again. I'm going to start actually down here. Right, I'll just get the highlighter back. It says, no ill luck but what lights on my shoulders. So he feels he's the only one suffering from bad luck at the minute. That's what he feels. No sighs but of my breathing. Right, so I want you to think of the last time you were really upset and you were crying and you do that kind of sigh where it's like if you don't, you're going to suffocate all of a sudden. That's how he's feeling. No tears but of my shedding. No one else is upset by this. No one else is crying at the moment but Shylock. He doesn't think that Jessica is crying. Right? He doesn't see her as being upset because he doesn't see her as being betrayed. He only sees it as affecting himself. So there's no tears but his shedding. Sorry about the highlighting again. So you can see he is really upset there. But what is it that he's upset about? Is he upset about his daughter? Or is he upset about his money? Right. Let's go back to the start. A diamond gone cost me 2,000 ducats. Now, would you be upset if someone stole a diamond from you that cost thousands and thousands of pounds? Right? But it wasn't just that one diamond. It's other precious, precious jewels. Right? Now, that's how he feels about his jewels. Does he talk about his daughter that way? The precious, precious is about the jewels, not his precious daughter. Right? Let's look at how he talks about his daughter. I would my daughter were dead at my foot, and the jewels in her ear. Now, I don't know whether he means that the jewels are stuffed inside her ear and into her head, or whether he means that she's got lots of these jewels dangling in earrings from her ears. But either way, to say that he wants his daughter dead at his foot is quite a serious thing, right? And we can tell that when he says, would she were hearsed at my foot and the ducats in her coffin. Right, so he would like her in the coffin, lying dead with the ducats in there. Right, that's clearly not the kind of thing that a loving father says. Right, so how do we feel about Shylock there? Right, we can see that he's spending money to get, right, I know not what's spent on the search, why thou loss upon loss. So it's just taken even more money to try and find the money that's gone. And he says, the thief gone with so much, and so much to find the thief. Not my daughter gone, and so much to find my daughter. It's the thief. Right? He's not even talking about her by using her name anymore. Simply the thief. He wants satisfaction. He wants, there's that key word again, revenge. So he doesn't just want revenge on Antonio. At this point, he wants revenge on his daughter. Right? But can we understand this? She stole all of his money and his precious possessions. She betrayed him. She ran away with his enemy. And this has just happened. Would you be angry? Would you be thinking these horrible thoughts as well? Some of you might do, right? But I would hope that you wouldn't, right? Now, we're going to do our main task on this passage now, right? Your main task is to write for 10 minutes, 5 minutes on each paragraph. You're going to write 2 paragraphs. One using this passage to show Shylock as a victim, someone that is badly treated. And I also want you to write a paragraph based on this passage to show Shylock as a villain, someone that treats others badly. So just to recap, focus on Shylock as a character, 1 5-minute paragraph about how Shylock is a victim, and 1 5-minute paragraph about how Shylock is a villain. They must be based on this passage here. You must use evidence, and you must explain why you think that evidence shows him as a victim or a villain. If you do that now. Right, so the learning intention that we talked about at the start was to learn more about Shylock as a character. Hopefully this video has helped you to learn a little bit more about him. To try and understand some of the methods Shakespeare used to present Shylock. So we talked about the emotive language, the rhetorical questions, his use of verbs to show how badly treated he's been. But then we would also talk about specific words, repetition of the word revenge, and think about the connotation or the feeling of that word. Now, don't forget, if I've used a word or a phrase that you're not sure about, you can email me or you can look it up for yourself. All right. Now, hopefully, from writing those 2 paragraphs that you've just written, that will help you to start to form your own opinion as to whether Shylock is a victim or a villain. Right? Because if you found it really easy to explain why he's a victim, but difficult to explain why he's a villain, I guess you're starting to form your opinion there. And vice versa, if you found it really easy to describe him as a villain rather than a victim, that's probably where you're swaying in terms of your opinion of Shylock. Right? You could also look back at the tally chart. Did you think he was more of a victim than a villain, or more of a villain than a victim? If both of those go together and work out together, that's probably what you think he is. But remember, there is no right or wrong answer. You can change your opinion as you go through the play. You probably will have a different opinion of Shylock at the end than you do at the beginning, right? Because you learn more about him. Now, I'm going to give an extra challenge. Now, this extra challenge doesn't need to be... Oh, sorry, I'll just go back to this. Please, can you send me in a copy of the 2 paragraphs? So you can either type them up and send it to me via email, scan it in, take a photograph and send it to me. Either way is fine, but please can you send me a copy of the 2 paragraphs, right? So I can just have a scan through and see how you're going with that. Right, now the extra challenge. And it is quite a challenge. You don't need to do all of it. You could just try and do half of it, right? But the extra challenge is to try and memorize this part of his speech, because this is one of the most famous speeches from Shakespeare. And it's, like I say, it's really emotive, full of good techniques. And if you could try and memorize it, it would be fantastic, right? So what I would like, if possible, is for you to take a video of that and send it in to me. Just email it to me, and perhaps I can make a montage and put them all together, or a mashup, I think you kids call it these days. Put them all together and make a video and maybe put it on the school website or something like that, if I get enough of them, where you're only saying a few words, and that would all run into one good speech, right? But if you could try and remember this, it would be really beneficial as we go through the weeks on The Merchant of Venice, and it would really help because you'd be able to remember some of the techniques that is used as well. So the extra challenge, try and memorize this, or if you can't do the whole thing, at least some of it. So you might start there and just memorize the last 3 questions. You might start here and memorize up to there, right? but even better if you can try and memorize all of it. And what would be absolutely brilliant is if you could send me a copy of the video of you doing that. All right. So what I would really like to see from everyone is 2 paragraphs about him being a victim or a villain and a video of this speech. Okay, thanks a lot now. I shall see you shortly.